we're live.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome everyone to City Building Committee. And the committee is meeting virtually still, and we have senior staff that are with us to help us if we need anything. We have no open delegations, but our first item on the agenda is a presentation concerning the public art portfolio. And one of our favorite people, Carol Ann Ryan, is going to give us that presentation. So Carol Ann, it's the floor is yours. And by the way, we will move up item 6.1 so that we can deal with it right after the presentation as well, since it deals with it.
Good evening.
Hello, Carol Ann. Welcome.
Good evening, Chair Rietma and members of the committee. Thank you for having me this evening. Hope everyone can see me and hear me okay.
You're just fine.
All right, excellent. I'm going to share my screen, and I would appreciate some feedback as to whether you can see what I hope that you can see when I get it there. Okay, can everyone see the PowerPoint presentation?
We can.
All right.
Away you go.
Excellent, thank you. So, as we all know, I'm here this evening to give a presentation on the public art portfolio. And I'd like to begin by sharing some background on the public art program at the City of Barrie. In 2012, Barrie City Council approved its first public art policy. That policy established the Barrie Public Art Committee, and we refer to it as BPAC. BPAC is a volunteer working group of council that promotes awareness and understanding of the importance of high quality public art in our community. And Barrie's public art program has been developed by a group of passionate volunteers who were supported by city staff. When I moved to Barrie, I offered my professional experience from past work in the city of Vancouver and at the city of Toronto with their public art collections, and joined as a volunteer into BPAC in 2016. I served on the committee for 5 years, 3 of which I sat as the chair of public art. And since the inception of the Public Art Committee, several things were achieved for the program, beginning with the securing of a major donation, Ron Baird's The Sea Serpent in 2016, the commissioning of an original work of art, which is the artist designed bike rack, dividers made into a juncture, the organization of Art in Unexpected Places, which was a temporary exhibition of 5 public art exhibits that was displayed in the summer of 2017, the publishing of the Barrie Public Art Guide in 2018, the commission and installation of the mural on the sea container in Meridian Place, and the commissioning of The Horn in the Heart by John McEwen, also in Meridian Place, which marks the largest original commission of public art for the city of Barrie in terms of budget and scale. And also a revision and update for the public art policy that occurred just last year in 2021. These projects that the Public Art Committee developed fostered a growing interest in public art in the city of Barrie. It's something that's been recognized as a community building tool and something worthy of cultural and civic investment. And in addition to the beautification and placemaking value of public art, it also supports strategic priorities of council that we have listed here. And I'd like to highlight to the right what you see as an image of dividers made into a juncture outside of the downtown public library. Public art also supports the goals and objectives of economic and creative development. And through this work, it's important to understand that broadly across Canada and across the world, public art has become a professionalized practice that's been adopted by municipalities. public art in all its forms can transform public space and create civic pride. This is integral to community building and placemaking. Cities such as Kingston, Mississauga, and Markham all have active public art programs, and the practice is emerging in smaller communities like Orillia, Midland, and Bracebridge. In 2021, the Economic and Creative Development Department identified the need to develop the public art portfolio for the City of Barrie and strategically integrate our work into City Hall. A position was created in the spring of 2021, to which I applied. I went through the recruitment process and became the inaugural public art coordinator at the City of Barrie. It has been my privilege to advance the public art portfolio from within the city in a professional capacity. The role entails several aspects, including providing professional expertise about public art within the city. I also identify opportunities for public art as projects develop. So for example, when working on master plans, when building developments are coming together, and when parks plans are being developed. There's opportunity through this role to consult or advise on public art projects that are brought forward by City Council, by staff, and by the Barrie Public Art Committee. There's opportunity through this role to develop a vision for public art's role in placemaking and community building as Barrie grows and we look toward the future. There's also opportunity to ensure that public art serves our community-based artists, as well as provide opportunity for significant and permanent works that invite nationally recognized artists to contribute to our local cultural landscape. My role also entails seeking collaborations and partnerships to facilitate projects and grow the public art program for the City of Barrie. And those collaborations and partnerships occur both within the city and with organizations and stakeholders outside of the city. Since the staff role began in 2021, public art has had several achievements. Brightening Barriers, the temporary exhibition of public art on downtown patios, was launched in 2021 to great success. The volunteers of the Barrie Public Art Committee secured the $40,000 grant from the federal government as part of a COVID relief initiative to support the program in 2021. We have also been working with some ward councillors on projects, and to date we've completed one and have two that are in progress. Public Art has most recently supported the events team in the programming for Hello Winter. At present, there's a projection program on display downtown that features 5 moving image works of art at 5 different locations. It's on display until March 20th, if anyone hasn't had a chance to get out and see them yet. We also facilitated guided school tours in the fall of 2021. Students at Codrington Elementary were given an opportunity to take a walk through the downtown and learn about our public art collection and view highlights from the Brightening Barriers installations. And we're hoping to repeat this program in the spring of 2022. Here's some images from some works that were featured in Brightening Barriers in 2021. On the left, we have The Long and Winding Road by Derek Martin that was installed at Bayside Variety. And on the right, we have Lineup by Amy Bagshaw at the North Restaurant. And these works and this whole exhibition, in fact, is an example not only of bringing public art into our community spaces, but this is an example of partnerships in the sense that this project was dependent on building relationship with business owners downtown. The BIA supported us in executing this project and marketing the program and getting the activities out to the public last summer. And so there were a number of ways that we were able to make connections in the community through this project. Now, the path forward for 2022, we are relaunching Brightening Barriers again, beginning in May of this year. This time around, it will include the reinstallation of 4 exhibits that were up last year. and there will be 4 new exhibits. And this is significant because the project was so successful for the business owners that partnered with us that some of them, in the cases where the artwork was durable enough to either stick around permanently for the immediate future or be reinstalled this coming year, we had businesses request that they display their work this coming year. So that's a really nice legacy from the first year of the project. And we're looking forward to hiring 4 new artists to create original works this coming year. In support of that exhibition, there'll be community engagement opportunities. We did a similar series of programs last summer, but due to the constantly changing COVID restrictions, all of them were virtual activities. But this year we would like to host them as we had originally intended, which is offering guided public art tours throughout the downtown, providing activities for families such as visual scavenger hunts and other programs. We also just completed a very successful artist development program. We partnered with Mural Roots, which is a mural making advocacy organization in Scarborough, and we offered 3 mural making workshops that were offered virtually to local and regional artists. The workshops had a capacity of 25 people, and we sold them out. And as a result, we have a very enthusiastic group of recently trained mural artists in the community that I'm looking forward to working with. We also continue to liaise with the Barrie Public Art Committee and support and develop community projects with relevant stakeholders. And at present, we have commissioned 3 artists to work with us to design to design wraps for traffic cabinets. And this is an opportunity that came through a partnership with the Traffic Services Department, funded through their graffiti prevention initiative. And we can look forward to seeing these 3 original works of art installed in our community in the fall of 2022. And we would also like to embark on maintenance of one of our signature works of art downtown, which is the Sea Serpent, as it has been installed since 2016. And we want to make sure that that artwork remains conserved and safe for the community. And for more detail about these activities that we're pursuing this coming year, a staff report has been prepared to accompany this presentation with more details about these plans. The role of the Barrie Public Art Committee continues to be important as the public art program develops. They have a key role in moving the portfolio forward. Through 2020 and 2021, we had a few vacancies on the committee. So at the end of 2021, we put out a public call for new members, and we had an overwhelming response and received 7 applications. And the Public Art Committee moved to accept all 7 applicants as new members to the committee. And we now are seeking council approval to ensure that these individuals can participate as part of BPAC until the end of the current council term. So looking to the future, as the public art program develops and grows, it is our hope that we will develop a public art master plan so that we will have a guiding tool to take us through the future stages of the program. We're hoping to integrate practices and policies that will champion public art within city programs and processes. We're looking to support and cultivate significant and permanent public art projects for our community. And we'd like to continue to grow community art opportunities, seek opportunities to engage residents in public art as part of placemaking, and continue to strengthen support for the overall public art program. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Ryan. Any questions or comments for Ms. Ryan? And we're going to move up the report as well. And I'm assuming that she will also be happy to answer any questions about the report. So Councillor Kungle.
Thank you, Chair Rietma, and thank you for the presentation, Ms. Ryan. It has been a pleasure working with you and had the chance to actually see the Public Arts Committee and have a great view of the different skill set and the degree of attraction that the committee has brought to individuals looking at growing this program. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit because I'm one of the counselors working on an art project. I wanted to check in and see, are you able to share a highlight of those three? I know you spoke to them, one being done and two being underway, but I thought I would see if this was an opportunity for you to highlight some of those exciting things, or are they going to be planned for a bit of a different launch or media piece?
Well, the other counselors who have projects undergo are on the screen today. I don't necessarily want to speak for their projects. I have to say I don't have any images at my fingertips at the moment, but I can certainly speak to your project, Councillor Kungle, and then perhaps if the others would like to share. But I think I can say generally across the board, the ward projects have been a really wonderful opportunity to beautify the wards and hire regional or local artists and have them do some great work that gets out into the public realm. And in all cases, the councillors have supported quite significant and relevant programs for the sites that we're working at. So in the case of Ward 3, we're working in the East Bayfield Community Park, and the project is a partnership between Parks Planning and Public Art, and we are collaborating on a commission of a two-part sculpture by local artists Derek and Tracy Martin, and we will have two fairly large, they're going to be approximately 7 or 8 feet high each, installed, made out of corten steel, installed in the park. And artistically, they're responding to themes of sustainability and pollination and environmentalism. And it's a two-part sculpture, and the two elements will be visually speaking to one another. And we are hoping to have the artwork completed and installed by the end of April. And there will be didactic signage at the park that explains the work from the artist's perspective in terms of what their intentions were, but we're also looking to create an educational panel that speaks to the interests of Councillor Kungle and Parks Planning in terms of educating the community broadly on these sustainability issues.
That's great. Thank you. And if I could follow up, because you did such a nice job highlighting in your presentation the integration of residents and interests, and be it tours and education or student groups. So I'm hoping that example happening in the ward that you've done such a beautiful job facilitating with the committee and with our Parks Department actually becomes part of an opportunity to engage with students, be it at Terry Fox or those in the proximity around outdoor education, and actually bringing kind of the classroom into the outdoors. Is that something that you think is possible?
Absolutely. And I know that there is a programming element happening within Parks Planning just for exactly that purpose. And so I'm sure that once the sculpture is in place, that they absolutely will focus around the artwork in terms of communicating the messages and speaking to the school groups. I know from my experience, the exciting thing about engaging with young children and public art is that they're so curious and they're so full of questions. And I know when I was leading tours through the downtown, you know, it was in my mind, it was very much about what is public art, a little bit of art history, a little bit of regional history because of the nature of the objects that we have. But children find all kinds of interesting things in the artwork and in the environment that it's situated in. And it really reinforces just how meaningful public art and public beautification can be, and how it can be used in an educational context in a way that I don't think is obvious to everyone at the outset.
Yeah, Thank you. And I've got one last comment that I'll frame as a bit of a question with an intention for maybe a partnership opportunity. So some things that have recently happened, and I'm looking at Councillor Elwin. We both sit on the Active Transportation Sustainability Committee. I know staff are going to speak to this art project at our next meeting, but we also, as of Monday night, supported the Bike the Night event in September. And I'm seeing in your presentation this growth of art in the downtown. The intention as we kind of start to develop more of the formal logistics for the evening, I believe it's intended to be September 17th, and the rain date might be the 24th. But how we activate kids and families on their bike. We're partnering with the BIA, with the Open Air Dunlop, around a scavenger hunt, and would love to actually see if we can add to that a highlight of the art that you're planning to expand as a bit of a scavenger hunt, whether that meets what you're doing now or can be an additional event or opportunity. I think there's maybe some great synergies with Bike the Night and how we showcase and continue to kind of engage and incorporate and introduce and speak to the arts when we've got residents in our downtown and in our communities. The other opportunity with Communities in Bloom. We're just starting to meet. We will have judges actually in Barrie this July. The theme is the Year of the Garden, and I would almost invite the committee to connect with Communities in Bloom. Some of the patios where we've got that art also do beautiful planters. And so as we have maybe very specific areas we want to activate with Communities in Blooms and specific plantings, how do we do that deliberately in areas where we have art? So we're not just showcasing what we're planting, but we're also incorporating the art with the community and not seeing a missed opportunity to kind of showcase a vibrant downtown and Barrie area.
Those are wonderful ideas. I would love to speak with you further about them. And just to speak to the bike piece, I do have that is close to my heart. For 2 years in Vancouver, I led guided bicycle tours of the public art collection along Vancouver's waterfront. And so I know a bit about that. So I'd be happy to help with that. And I'm sure we could form something that suits what we have to offer in Barrie as well.
That's great. Thank you, Carolyn. And I mean, wonderful work. Really, I know you said, I believe it was you've been hired June 2021, and you've made just such a significant contribution to education for myself, but also how you're bringing departments and also communities and the skill set of artists and together. And I think it's going to be great. And as we look at the precinct and the theater, I'm actually quite excited about how art will continue and be prepared to actually intersect with those huge assets.
Thank you, Councillor Kungle.
Yeah, well done.
All right, thanks. Councillor Natalie Harris.
Thank you, Chair Riepma, and thank you so much, Carol-Ann, for your presentation. It's super exciting. I was actually thinking of another possible collaboration, and I'll obviously reach out to you afterwards. But has it ever been discussed having some public art that was made solely by our unhoused? Something that obviously would be their expression of their lives and what they're going through. But I think it would be a really great idea to bring that community, and I can connect you with people obviously that would love the opportunity to really put some of their story, which is in Barrie, out in Barrie. So has that ever come up before?
It hasn't, not through my role at Public Art, but I think it's a wonderful idea, and I think that's a really interesting community art project, and I think that's absolutely something I'd love to speak with you more about.
Okay, great. I will connect with you after. That's wonderful. And thank you. Great presentation, and all the art's just gorgeous. Thank you.
Great. Any more questions, comments, Mayor Lehman?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. First of all, Carol-Ann, it's delightful to have you here and in front of committee and working at the city in this capacity and bringing your experience from Vancouver. But also, I really appreciated that sort of timeline of the Public Art Committee. I mean, sort of sit and realize that there's two new landmark works, the Heart and the Horn and the Sea Serpent, in our community that tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have been able to enjoy. But then when you consider as well the sort of foundational steps that the committee's taken in terms of planning and developing policy and so forth, that's setting the stage for the next steps. And then, I guess what I was also reflecting on is during COVID, and especially with Open Air Dunlop, the audience for the art that's on the barriers and brightening barriers is enormous, absolutely enormous. And so I think the way that you and the committee have taken advantage of the opportunity to bring public art to new audiences is really extraordinary. And public art's one of those things like that where a municipality has the opportunity to delight its residents and surprise its residents. And you talked about how kids react to it. One of my favorite things is to be at the Sea Serpent when young kids come up and they have widely varying reactions. Some of them will actually be, is that a dragon? They'll be scared. But inevitably they're delighted and amazed. And, regardless of which audience and who it's accessible to, I think the pieces are fundamental to placemaking. So I really appreciated tonight's presentation and your steps for 2022. I think the question I had of you, that's my comment, Mr. Chair. I think the question I had of you, one on the report and one on the plans for 2022. So in terms of the plans for 2022, we talked about the community projects in the 3 wards. And thank you to the councillors who've chosen to make public art their community project. I think when I created that program, the community grants program, it was with the intention of improving the public realm, and the choice to use public art to do that and create identity is really cool. And one of the reasons I like that is because it's in all areas of the city, and we're maybe bringing public art to unexpected parts of the city. It's not that it's expected on the waterfront or in the downtown, but it might be a little more expected there than it would be in a neighborhood parkette or on a arena wall or something like that. So that's a long way of asking in 2022, and as you're doing your planning work in this capacity, what consideration is being given to furthering that kind of goal of bringing public art to all corners of the city?
Well, it is absolutely something we have considered and have aspired to do. And I would say we've been talking about that since I was a volunteer on the Public Art Committee, absolutely. But that is something that we will be looking at in 2023. We do have an idea for a project right now. I don't know how much I should reveal at this point. It is sort of in an idea stage, but we definitely do have something that is manageable that we would like to share with and do it as a citywide ward project. It's sort of small in cost and scale, but it would be something that we could get a lot of impact for a lower cost and in a wider range. And now that we have been building through the artist competitions we've done in the last few months, and as well as this workshop series we just ran, we have also been building a roster of local artists. So, which has been hugely helpful, because as new ideas come forward or opportunities are presented, we now have a roster to draw on in terms of local artists that we can hire, that we know are professional and capable of executing the work. So there is absolutely intention to do something more broad in 2023. Thank you for asking that.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm just pulling up my comment to the report, or a copy of the report on my phone, try and not do a split screen on Zoom. My question was actually about the committee, and I mean, tremendous response to add 7 members to the committee. I know you were down to a relatively small one. Mm-hmm. Is the and I don't know, I know a few of the names, but I don't know all of them. Are you seeing engagement from sort of Barrie's artists on the committee themselves, or is this sort of champions of public art or people who are bringing other perspectives to it?
I would say it's a little of everything you mentioned, which is actually exactly what we wanted. So as much as we need to have some artists on the committee for their expertise and their input, we also need individuals with other skill sets. And so presently we have in the new group, we have an architect, we have another individual who works in interior design. We have someone who works in culture for the city of Aurora, but has recently moved to Barrie, so that's helpful in other ways. But it's really important to have different perspectives and skill set on the committee, and we did get a wide range. We also have some individuals who are interested in the arts and support the arts, but work more in the community in other professional capacities. I get, as you say, individuals who advocate or support for public art. So it is a nice variety of individuals in that group.
That's great. So, Mr. Chair, in the interest of moving things along through the committee, I'm happy to move the motion since we're sort of on the report and the presentation. And not to cut off debate, but I'd be happy to put it on the floor. And I certainly support expanding the committee. I think bringing that diversity of voices is very helpful. I think just by way of final comment, the plans for 22, and I'm happy to support those in the recommended motion as well. I think they're a mix of good stewardship and new projects. And I think one of the really great things to see in both the presentation and the motion, the staff report, is that this is incremental. I mean, even building barriers, which might have been conceived of as a temporary measure, that artwork's going to be brought back. There's 4 new pieces. Now we've got 8 stops on the scavenger hunt if we're using the sort of kids approach, but we're building, and we're building in our community both signature installations and commissions from the Heart and the Horn and the Sea Serpents, so to speak, to the smaller and more delightful things like traffic boxes. So love the direction this is going and happy to support the motion.
Okay, thank you for putting that motion forward. And what I'll do is, just for the public that may be watching, I'll just read the motion. The first part has to do with that up to $25,000 for temporary public art installations in 2022 be approved and funded from the Public Art Reserve as recommended by the Barrie Public Art Committee. And the second part of the motion is that up to $10,000 for maintaining the permanent works of art with the public art inventory in accordance with the approved maintenance plan and or conservation plan required for each piece be approved and funded from the Public Art Reserve. And then finally, thirdly, that per the recommendation of Barrie Public Art Committee, the number of citizen representatives be increased to 10 and the following individuals be added to the membership of the committee for the duration of the current council term. And the names there are Andrea Araju, Sharon Baggett, Emily Emmond, Jen Gurin, Craig Handy, Sarah Jensen, and Laura Kelly. So that's what's on the floor. Any comments or discussion on that? Councillor Congo.
Thank you, Chair Wheatma. I'm in full support of the motion. Thank you for putting on the floor, Mayor Lehman. I didn't want there to be a missed opportunity, so maybe I'm looking to Mayor Lehman and staff, because on the note of like how wonderful it was to have access to the funding that you brought forward to council for each of us to kind of look at from a beautification perspective. I'm not sure if it would be within this motion because it's relatable that council, whether it be the next term, actually endorses that happens again. I would love to see, and I'm not sure when that report back is coming to council about who used those dollars for what, but I would love to see the next term of council have that kind of access to funding. And even if we can put more legs to it where it will be used, maybe with more parameters tied to beautification that perhaps the Arts Committee could structure, because I know there's a lot of push and pull, and not to be critical, but I even, people are looking at the money to say traffic safety and other issues, and there's lots of demand. So I'd love to see the money proposed with some security that it does support beautification. Where would you see that type of recommendation coming? Could we fold it into this motion, Mayor Lehman?
So my probably not in this motion would be my suggestion, Councillor Kungle, except if it was specifically related to public art itself. If consideration was to be given to ward-based projects for public art itself, and I mean, I think you could work up something if you didn't have something for tonight in time for general next time. But I think the community projects piece would have to go in the budget because it was in the budget in 2019. That being said, you're right to say, you know, that there's a report back on what has happened there and the consideration of a new program for the next term of council, which might well have more guidelines or less guidelines, more money or less money, hopefully more, because I think it was a good program too. But the 22.5 that was given for each ward was intentionally extremely broad. You know, it was meant to be a public space improvement, and some councillors felt traffic safety was the best improvement that they could make with it, and others chose to do beautification. Some chose recreation. So all of which to say, you know, if it was tonight, I think you'd have to tie it specifically to the public art piece. And I'd be happy to speak with you about something that furthered the objectives of Ms. Ryan and her group within Invest Barrie, and as well the committee. But I think you'd probably want to work with the committee to establish that for next year.
Okay, thank you. I'll hold. I'll reach out to you, Mayor Lehman, and then other members around this table. You know my intentions at least. So love to know what your thoughts are, but I'll look to shape something to bring it forward, and I'll support the motion as tabled.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion, comments? Deputy Mayor Ward.
Thank you, Chair. I want to say two things. One is because Caroline did not mention another council member. I'm on the Public Art Committee, and the other one is Councillor Thompson, who would be the first one to admit he knows nothing about public art, but he's been an invaluable member of the committee because he brings another perspective. And one of the things is he'll often bring in things when we're talking about concrete, and he'll say, well, you need this, if you're putting up this, you need this kind of a base in concrete, and you have to put this in it. Like something that we wouldn't have had on the committee if he wasn't on it. So, I mean, it's almost anybody can contribute to that committee. I mean, it's great to have all those points of view. In terms of the new people that are being appointed tonight, they've actually been they've attended a couple of meetings already. They've jumped in full. Like they're actually taking on projects. I mean, I'm quite amazed at the quality of people we got to join the committee. The other thing I wanted to say was that, I mean, I think it's amazing the city finally has a public art coordinator. It's a wonderful thing. It's been invaluable, especially for, you know, just my own experience in our community benefits projects. Mine was, you know, this idea to have a garden, the Hope Garden at Sunnydale Park, which is going to be officially open this spring. And then I had, through Victoria Butler, I was able to link up with a local artist, Mar Lewis. And so we had the idea, we knew what we wanted to do. We had a Owen Signcraft willing to make the signs, but we didn't have anybody to sort of put it together. And something always goes wrong, no matter what project, and especially public art, something goes wrong. And in our case, it was when we got it, we realized that the artist should have been working with the sign company before, because there were going to be bolts right in the middle of her beautiful paintings. And so that's the kind of thing that where Caroline came in. It was a wonderful thing that we had her, because she was able to take this project and say, you know, I wish we'd had her on board earlier on the process, because she probably could have pointed out, well, you know, you should talk to the sign company before you have the artist do your paintings, because there's this kind of thing. So, you know, she's made life a lot easier to get things done in the city. So I just want to say thank you, Caroline, and it's wonderful to have you aboard.
All right.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, we're very lucky. All right, any more discussion on the motion? All right, if not, I will call the question. Those in favor? Thank you, that is passed unanimously. And thank you very much, Caroline, and I see Stephanie on the line as well. So appreciate very much your work that you've done, and we'll continue to do. Thanks for your leadership in this.
Thank you for having us.
Moving on, we have 3 reports to be received. There are no motions that flow out of any of them. So first of all is the report of the Heritage Barrie Committee, February the 9th. Report of the Arts Advisory Committee, February the 15th. And a report of the Active Transportation and Sustainability Committee of March the 1st, 22. Can I have somebody put those on the floor? Thank you, Councillor Aylwin. Any discussion, any questions about receiving those reports? None. I'll call the question. Any those in favor of receiving? All right, thank you. That carries. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. Thank you very much. We are adjourned and we'll see you at Planning Committee in 19 minutes.